Time now for Movie Spotlight, your weekly ticket to the world of film, from the hottest blockbusters to hidden indie gems and everything in between. And joining us today in the studio are our resident movie critics, Darcy Paquet. Hello, Darcy.
Hello.
And Jason Bechervaise. Welcome back, Jason.
Hello. Welcome. Yeah, great to be here.
Now, Darcy, this week your recommendation is a Korean prison drama. It premiered at the Jeonju International Film Festival this spring. Home Behind Bars is the debut feature of director Cha Jung-yoon, and it stars the well-known actress Song Ji-hyo. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, when we hear the words prison drama, like we might imagine some kind of really, prison breakout or, these dramatic or violent series of events. I mean, this film, it's actually kind of the opposite. It's more of a thoughtful, quiet story. It's set in a women's prison, and they shot it in a real prison in Daegu. It's very much focused on the present lives of the characters and the guards, and we never, for example, really learn like what the women did that got them in prison, and that could have been something to kind of boost the emotional tone of the film, but I think the director seems to have consciously chose to kind of keep things at a cooler temperature and to present things in a more kind of realistic way.
I think that's an interesting way to look at it, because I think a lot of prison dramas, or the ones that I know, are almost always based on their backstories rather than their present. I haven't heard of that kind of approach before, so you've definitely piqued my interest. How would you summarise the film's plot?
So Song Ji-hyo plays the main character, Taejo, kind of an unusual name. And she's been working as a correctional officer for about 15 years. She's very professional. She's, slightly kind of cold or standoffish in a way. And she lives this really routine life, going back and forth between the prison and her home, maybe to the library on her days off. But, she doesn't mix much with the prisoners. And one day the prison receives news that one of the inmates' mother has died. And they apply for permission to let this woman attend the funeral, but it's denied. And then somewhat spontaneously, Taejo's co-worker suggests going to the funeral themselves. And so they go, and while they're there, they see the prisoner's teenage daughter, who's there all by herself. And Taejo talks to her briefly, and it just seems that this girl is kind of all on her own. And so she gives the girl her phone number. And then, sometime later, she gets a phone call from the girl, and then they meet up, and slowly the two of them sort of get to know each other. And then this relationship develops between the two of them, basically.
So it's quite a unique and interesting set of circumstances, to say the least. Darcy, can you share a bit more about the movie's title itself?
Yes. So in English, it's Home Behind Bars, but in Korean, it's 만남의 집, which is, literally it's closer to kind of house of meeting. And these do exist, apparently. It's like a small house that's built on the side of a prison, where prisoners can spend a night with a family member. And it's a little bit complicated to get permission, there's strict security involved and everything else, and it has to be cleared above. But, this system was originally put in place so that married couples could spend a night together even after one of them is imprisoned. And, in this story, it becomes a point of focus in the second half of the film, because Taejo suggests that this girl and her mother spend a night there to kind of reestablish contact with each other. The daughter's been refusing all contact with her mother, and the mother too is not really sure if this is what she wants.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you mentioned that this actually took place in a real prison in Daegu. Do you know if this was the real room where those reunions have taken place, where this was filmed, or?
I'm assuming it is. I think everything was kind of shot in the same location. It is a very low budget film, so they didn't really, I think they didn't build a lot of sets or anything like that. So that's my assumption. And
what did you think of the film?
I like it. I like the way that the film kind of explores this idea of stepping over the line, because, what the main character does is out of line. She starts this kind of personal relationship with an inmate's daughter. And, the mother's actually quite upset when she finds out about it. And yet, within the context of the situation, it also is kind of absolutely the right thing for her to do. And so the film balances that quite well. And, as the story develops, it kind of leaves you with a lot of thought about kind of that idea about, staying and doing what's proper, or sometimes that you do perhaps have to step over the line. Song Ji-hyo is really good in this role. I mean, I've been a fan of hers for quite a while, and I think this is a good role for her. But the rest of the cast is great too. Ok Ji-young plays the mother.
Take
from
care
Take Care of My Cat.
Take Care of My Cat, yeah.
Yeah, from flashback to 2001, that film where she also went to prison in that film briefly.
I recognized it instantly because I love the film so much.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I just looked it up, and then I was like, yeah, the name stood out.
Yeah, people have been drawing connections between the two films. And then the daughter's played by Do Young-seo, and she's really good as well.
And Jason, have you had a chance to see this one?
I have, yeah. It's really good. I was thoroughly absorbed. It's quite a slow-paced film. It relies quite heavily on the performances for sure, and they all deliver. I mean, Song Ji-hyo is, she's fantastic. I think this might be the best I've ever seen her, to be honest, in a film. And she doesn't say all that much. There's a lot about the way she reacts to certain things, and it's a very subtle but yet also very powerful performance. I know that sounds like a bit of a paradox, but yeah, I know she's stellar in this film, and I like also these certain scenes between the prison officer and the girl, and they have these conversations, and they don't say all that much, but what they do say just really, really resonates. So I think it's kind of really, really well written, and the climax as well for me is quite refreshing, because so often Korean films things just go crazy.
Melodrama.
Yeah, this does the opposite,
yeah.
and I was like, that's what I like. That's what I want to see more of. And no, I do love the kind of the endings where things just completely go off the rails. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of its strengths here, where I think the whole approach is quite understated, and I think that works really well.
Now, this was released in theatres on Wednesday. Darcy, what are its box office prospects?
Well, it opened at number 11, which isn't huge. I mean, you have to. On one hand, it's an independent film, and for low-budget independent films, it's a lot of them are happy to make 10 million or 10,000 admissions. Sorry, 10,000 admissions during their release, and it made about 2,000 on its first day. So, if you judge it as an independent film, it's doing quite well. On the other hand, it does have a recognizable lead in Song Ji-hyo, and she has a certain number of fans, and so the question is whether the fans will kind of turn out for it. And, some of them may not know that the film's out there because it's a small scale release, and, they don't have a lot for marketing. But, if it has good word of mouth and it can stick around for a while, then I think certainly within the realm of, independent low budget movies, I think it'll do quite well.
And it's getting good reviews here on Korea24. Jason, I'm putting you back in the hot seat now.
Yeah.
Your pick today is the US horror film Weapons. It was released earlier this week. What's it all about?
Well, what do I say here without spoiling the show? Well, it's a new film from director Zach Krieger, and he's a jack of all trades. He's a comedian, he's a writer, producer. He co-scored the music here, I mean, this is I'm not going to say too much, because I think going in cold is the best way to kind of enjoy. Is that the right word, Darcy?
Sure.
But anyway, experience the movie, and yeah, it's set in a town in Pennsylvania, and basically class full of students. Kindergarten kids. They just disappear, except for one student. And then many of the parents suspect the teacher, played by Julia Garner, has something to do with it. But yeah, there's this video footage of them just basically kind of walking somewhere, kind of Stranger Things style. And yeah, so it's hard to really pin it on her. And so something else clearly is evidently going on. And so it's told from different perspectives. Yeah, the school teacher, police officer, a parent, played by Josh Brolin, who I love, a drug addict, the school principal, Benedict Wong, just terrific in this movie as well. And Yeah, so that's in terms of the plot. It sounds a bit weird, wacky, because it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, but it's a horror film, and yeah, production began following the success of the director's previous film, Barbarian, sparking a bidding war. And it's not surprising, actually, having watched it. You know, there's a bidding war between the studios, and ultimately Warner Brothers released it.
I have so many questions I want to
Yeah.
ask, but again, I don't want to spoil it for
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah.
So I suppose I'll just, trying to keep it a bit vague. So Jason, are you usually into horror films, would you say? And I'm curious how this one landed for you.
Yeah, I love horror films.
Okay.
Although as a kid I didn't, but as a lover of cinema, I've come to really enjoy them, and I've become somewhat immune. Teaching Korean horror. There are only so many horror films you can watch before before you start becoming less scared. But I love I love how directors approach horror in different ways, and often they're depicting a society, sometimes a very bleak one, and they say a lot about the world we live in, I think. And they can be really entertaining, and there's just a whole range of different horror films. You've got psychological horror, you got the slasher genre, you got all sorts of things, and Korean horror is got a number of iconic films out there, as does Hollywood, and this is a film that I don't think I will forget very soon.
And how is this film doing in the US? And do you see it doing well here too?
Here, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to look at the reactions because I just got back from a trip. But it's done really well in North America. Globally, it's 267 million. I think it did 151 million dollars in America, and so I mean, horror films in the States are proving quite resilient in the post-pandemic era. There's animations which are doing really well at the moment, and there's horror films, and so. Movies like Screen, the Screen kind of reboots, Smile, and many others. It's like you want to go and see it in the big screen with people. That a horror film, is a collective experience.
Yeah, you don't want to watch on your laptop.
Yeah, it's
Right.
unique, right? And obviously, young people they really go for horror films, and this has some unique I mean, it's intense. And it's not. I mean. It's mysterious, but it's not convoluted. Although we don't really know what's going on until the second half, but once we do realize what's going on, there are a few twists along. Well, I wouldn't say twists, but surprises. Surprises is the word I'm looking for along the way. But nothing. But yeah, it's intense, but there's nothing there that. That's too complicated.
Darcy, have you seen Weapons?
I have, yeah. And I can confirm that when the film finishes, you understand everything that happened. There's some horror films where you're like, what did I just watch? And you have to think about it for a week before you start to piece it together. And this it is straightforward, but, because of the way it's told through a lot of different perspectives, it's not like, in two halves or in, 3/3 where we're getting one character's perspective really deep. It's like, we spend maybe 15, 20 minutes on one character and then jump to another character and then another and another. And so it's kind of it feels like a new way to watch the film.
But it's not repetitive, actually. Sometimes when you get the different perspectives, it just, you're like, I know what's going to happen. And obviously with a horror film, obviously it's
You need that suspense.
yeah, it's dependent on those shocks and scares, and so if you know what's coming, it becomes less frightening. But here, even though there are different perspectives, it kind of it's brisk, right? So
although it starts a bit slow.
it does start a bit slow, but by the time you've gotten to the second and third perspectives, it races along.
Well, with spooky season upon us, it's the perfect time
Yeah.
to go watch a horror film. That's all we've time for on this week's Movie Spotlight. Thank you, as always, to our critics for joining us. Darcy Paquet, thank you.
Thank you.
And Jason Bechervaise. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.